Hey y'all, it's Renegayde, and it's time to spill more Reali-Tea on all things RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10. Tournament of All-Stars has officially begun, so make sure you like and subscribe for more, as you're not going to want to miss a single drop of content this season. On this podcast, we're going to be discussing the second part of our two-part premiere as our Orange Bracket Queens navigate their murder mystery improv challenge, while each and every queen makes their own game plans for the most valuable queen's twist. Also, make sure you stay to the end to get some real tea as we discuss all of the latest internet gossip, rumors, and speculation. But before we begin, let me introduce my co-host. Of all the opportunities in his life, this is by far the most recent. It's QuackrrJack. Jack, how are you feeling after the second episode of the two-part premiere, and are we sold on this format here now?
I am sold on this type of engaging tournament for right now. I really want to see what happens. I mostly agreed with everything in the episode. I enjoyed the challenge. Again, I know I talked about it like an improv acting challenge. I know I said before in a video, great choice, and a girl group challenge, also a great choice for like if we're going to do 3 different challenges, this is a great way to do it. Performance in one, acting in another. Like, this is great.
Yeah, I still have my reservations here, but the first 2 episodes, the premiere, I think at least it hit, and it made me a lot. It dropped my guard's been dropped a little bit here, you know. I just think it's weird that it's already, literally just premiere week, and we're already 66.7% of the way of our time of being with the orange bracket. Which, I mean, thank you, Aja, for helping me do that math. Could not have done that without you. But it seems like time is flying by with this double format premiere here. But, maybe as things progress and we have a little bit more separation and time to kind of let things, resonate with us over the weeks. Things don't happen so quickly in between episodes. Maybe my tune might change a little bit here, but right now, I feel like we still have something to talk about. The queens have something to do from start to finish each episode. It's we'll see. I don't know if we're still going to be feeling this way by the time we get to that third bracket, just because I don't know. I'm having feelings of trepidation as I do on RuPaul Drag Race, but positive thoughts here, right? Positive thoughts. Anyways, let's go ahead and begin.
Feelings.
I mean, girl, like RuPaul does not
They're
give
not
me
without warrant. Like they're
right.
totally acceptable.
They are
But
warranted.
I
They are
get it.
completely
They're
warranted.
warranted 100%.
So like I'm just gonna step cautiously here and just hope that we no trapdoors end up here, as RuPaul likes to put on the stage
I
or try
mean,
to.
yeah, and to be fair, I think a lot of us Drag Race fans also always think that we know better, right? Like always like,
I
oh, why
mean, we
wouldn't you do
do,
this?
but
Like we are all very judgmental. Let's keep that 100 with us.
yeah, I will say that is probably the one part about the fan base is we have an opinion and we're going to tell you whether you like it or not. Whether or not we're going to be ice spice and put that into tactful language, that has yet to be seen. But yeah, let's go ahead. We could pick up here because if we're gonna start some drama here, it needs to be about the episode and not about what we're talking about. So, yeah. So we kind of left off the episode here with a little bit of a cliffhanger, not really, but a little bit of a cliffhanger, as we know our top 2 from last week here are Aja and Irene. They've scored the first points in this competition, and that leaves our bottom 4 queens: Bosco, DeJa Sky, Olivia Lux, and Phoenix. They have the option now to reward 1 additional point to another queen called the Most Valuable Queen point. So we get here the bottom 4 entering the workroom first, just as they react to the situation, and there's a lot of talk about what sort of strategy they should use as a group here, but I think they also kind of agree that there's a safe move to be made here where they could all just give it to each other. And that is until Olivia reveals that she might give her point to Aja, since they do have their Mimu alliance, and that makes DeJa feel some type of way since they're supposed to be Team Melanin. So there was a little bit of intrigue here when, the top 2 queens popped in here, pleaded their case, and then began to give away the points. But once we realized that they were just going to be doing it in the open and they weren't going to be like shady about it and like hide it, I had a feeling they were going to go the safe route, and that's exactly what they did. Bosco went first, gave her point to Phoenix. Or sorry, yeah, Bosco went first, gave her point to Phoenix. So Phoenix reciprocated, gave her point back to Bosco. So DeJa upheld her portion of the Melanin Alliance, giving her point to Olivia. And when it comes to Olivia's point, while there is a little bit of hesitation, she does eventually give in and give her point to DeJa, meaning all of the bottom four are now tied at 1 point, while Aja is living her front runner fantasy, and Irene feels fully redeemed. Jack, I know you kind of said a little bit about this last week, but was this the outcome you were expecting for them to take the safe way out?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of I think what the show was expecting to. I can't imagine anyone expected anything other than this to happen on the first time. One thing that was interesting is I think kind of shows the lack of understanding by some of the girls, specifically Olivia. You never reveal your true intentions if it's gonna go against the grain. Because imagine if they were allowed to do this in private, everyone would have known if she had been the one that voted for Aja, right? Like it would have been an automatic. It's gone, like we know. But at the same time, like it probably would have been easy to figure this out as well. Like the girls probably been like, "Oh well, who did you vote for? Who did you vote for?" So I mean, but there's a possibility that if they had done it not in a public setting, this would have been a bad call on her part. And honestly, if it were me, I probably would have more so discussed like, do we think it's fair just to give like, are we just going to do this every week where we give the girls a like extra points so that way no one feels like they're too far behind? Because then
Participation point, as Irene
it kind of
says.
feels like, yeah, it's participation points. Kind of just feels like, well, now these points don't matter at all because it's going to come down to strictly just the challenges. Because now, if you assume that they're just going to go diplomatic every single week, that's immediately okay. There we go. Everyone gets 1 point this week. Two people get 2 points, and one person is going to end up getting 3 points, right? So it's just going to come down to the top two every week. Which generally, that is kind of the hope is that the girls who do the best go further. But at the same time, you could make the case that let's say Aja only ends up in the top one time, and like that puts her in the chance of possibly not making it to the end. But you think Aja deserves it. You could be giving Aja points and constantly helping her score increase, kind of thing, or vice versa. You could be helping the girl that's doing the best in the competition on purpose because, as it was mentioned, if you give the girl with the most points all the points, that means everyone else around you who are the competitors are going to have less points for you to have to worry with to actually compete against. So I think it makes more sense to actually give the points to the girls who are already doing well.
In that case, too, regardless, it's going to come down to you have to win a challenge. Like, you're not going to get by just
Yeah,
on all the points unless for some reason everyone's like, we want Cynthia Lee Fontaine in the finals, so we're going to give her all of our points every opportunity we have. So she just gets three
right.
points
Well, I
every
mean,
single
maybe you give all the points to Phoenix because you feel bad for her because she hasn't done well.
Right? I mean, like, it's entirely possible. Like, I mean, a random world where they have just that queen that's just that lovable that they're just like, we have to give you all the points to make sure you get through because we just want
Right.
you there. Like, I guess that's a possibility, but like, I think what you're saying is more than likely the outcome where they're just gonna kind of play diplomatically. But I do think we see some shades here, especially as kind of the drama starts to happen this episode where we possibly see maybe something different happening at this first or for the first time in the next episode when it comes to the distribution of the points. But yeah, this round it was, kind of expected that they probably weren't going to play a move here. But let's go ahead and move to day two. um I don't really want to talk about this mini challenge where they have to roll the ball up the body of one of the pit crew members, other than the
No.
fact that like they brought in Bryce and they brought in Bruno. Who was the random third one? Did they even give him a name? Did they even introduce him?
Girl, I wasn't paying attention to their names. No one was paying attention to their names.
I know they
I
weren't, but I'm
just,
still just like it's like how are you gonna bring this man in here for the first time ever and not even at least pretend to call him by a name. But you're gonna call
Maybe
Bryson
he's
Bruno by Bryson Bruno.
maybe he's just, possibly they're like gonna see how the fan base reacts to this man, and then maybe he'll become a staple one, just like Bryce and Bruno are. Maybe they're just trying out different. They'll try out different pit crew members, see which one is the most liked, and they'll go from there. Who knows? Who knows? It's Rue's show. We're just living in it, right?
I miss Sean. I want Sean to come back. He was my favorite picture member.
Her real
Um,
intention here was to talk about Shaw.
it was to really talk about Sean. Actually, no, it was to actually say if you had to do this, would you pick Bryce Bruno or whoever this random third guy was?
Girl, I don't care who I'm picking as long as they help me get the win.
I mean, you could just be Irene and just be skilled at it, and it just be what you're good at.
Well, I mean, I think it did come down to a skill thing, but I think there was also the part of like you had to help your partner and kind of tell them what you wanted them to do. And I
I don't
think
know.
that communication really benefited her.
I would have just been Bosco and just used it as an excuse to rub up against him. But yeah, Irene won this, and she now has a 100% success rate in mini challenges, which is hilarious considering she's the first boot. So she's literally is she the only person in history with 100% mini challenge rate at this point? I guess we'll
I
see. Um,
guess so.
especially over multiple seasons, I would say. But yeah, so she gets $2,500, and yeah, that was that. So we could just move on here to their improv challenge. So again, Maxi Challenge, they're tasked with creating entertaining characters using only a description and no script as they star in the Improv Murder Mystery Challenge, Murder on the Dance Floor. Rue, Carson, and Michelle will also co-star. I personally, I think as you said earlier in this podcast, Jack, I love these improv challenges, especially over the acting challenges, since they have the ability to kind of create everything themselves. And we've seen how challenges like Forensic Queens from All Stars 8 or The Whole from Canada versus the World 2 have been extremely successful to the point where I think we quote Jessica Wilde on the Forensic Queens literally on a regular basis every Tuesday. Um, it's I feel like we possibly could see that again this season. But as far as just the challenge type goes, uh, what do you think the benefits here? Who this versus an acting challenge would be, and are you glad that they went this route versus the acting challenge?
I am glad they went this route, first of all, and here's why. Acting challenges with scripts give people automatically the best characters to have based upon what is written for them or what they are doing. There are plenty of times we see scripts where girls get really boring characters or characters that are just completely safe unless people bomb, right? And then they might get a top three spot, but they're probably not going to win unless they go like so clearly far and above what the character is, and you have to improv something that's not in the script to get to stand out. But that's the name of the game, right? Is like you have to improv even in the acting challenges. So why not just make it an improv challenge? Here, every single girl gets the chance to interact with each other based on looks and how they're reacting to each other in the room when the detective comes in. But additionally, they each get their own individual moment with RuPaul to do their acting scene as their character. So everyone has the opportunity to completely create whatever they want for their character, as long as it stands within, the correct, uh, the correct guidelines. You can't just have the cabaret girl all of a sudden not be cabaret anymore. But they did pick their characters, so none of them can really be mad because no one got a character they didn't want. And it was kind of funny because it seemed like there were characters kind of made for each of the girls' personalities, right? So it kind of felt like the they were kind of scripting it for the girls in a way to help them do well. That
Do
being
you?
said,
What?
oh,
No,
sorry.
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That being said, I do think there are certain words or certain things they have to be saying during their time with RuPaul, since he is the detective in this show, to like really get the story to move forward. But it's more so a list of things that you have to do but also it gives you a good guideline of where your character can go or how you can take your character to the next level.
So do you think, because I felt like every part, except for maybe one or two of them, had some nuance of something that they could have used to kind of, work in their favor and expand upon. Do you think there's anybody here that had a role or any role specifically that maybe stood out more than others? Because, like you said in acting challenges, um, they definitely have roles that stand out more. I was struggling maybe to find that one role that felt like it was made to just stand out.
I don't think there was a single role that couldn't stand out. I agree with you that it's hard to find the one that was like the best because I think there's just different ways about approaching them. Yes, the Ashley Brashley is probably the main character role in this scene, but she gets her own time just like everyone else, and you still have to perform the character well. And what you say and what you do during the scene is really what makes or breaks the whole thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I would say in this group, because everyone gets their individual time, and that's the big chunk of time, that immediately kind of made it an open door and free for all the girls to get in because, you have the maybe more promiscuous character. You have the more subtle but mysterious character who you can really build upon. It's just how you choose to go about it. And it really shows the acting chops of the girls and what they are willing to do. And some of it comes from the preparation of getting into character, and some of it comes from the wit of what they're doing at that time. And I think that's what we're really looking at here.
Well, before we get to the specifics as far as what happened in the challenge here, I kind of wanted to go down some of the workroom drama here because we do get a few spats here and there. I'm still not going to say fights just yet because there aren't anything like I'd say super iconic, but we do get some storylines moving forward here. And the first one I kind of want to get into is kind of Olivia because I felt like this was a very, very negative episode for Olivia here. And it kind of starts here where they're getting ready for the challenge to begin with. And, there's some playful reading going on between the girls. And Bosco shoots a read at Olivia about her character because Olivia is trying to, change up a little bit. And Olivia does not find Bosco's comment funny. And instead, it kind of triggers her and it kind of starts this bickering between the two where they're kind of like spatting back and forth. And Bosco is kind of worried initially because it feels like she had this experience from season 14 when she fought with Camden about the roles. So she's doing her best to not let this affect her. Whereas on the other end, Olivia is totally letting this affect her. And it's like spirals for her into like this whole situation where she feels like she's like more so like this the culmination of all the comments she's gotten about her as a person and her personality and how everybody else views her as like a nice girl, but she's standing up for herself now. Bosco didn't seem bothered at all. Bosco was like, okay, sure. But I'm just like, Olivia definitely bothered. Um, Did you see, or what were your thoughts on kind of how this all went down here? Because I felt like Olivia was definitely feeling the stress of the competition and kind of took it out on Bosco.
I think with Olivia, she sees the first episode. She realizes she did not place in the top three. She got a what I would call a pity point, right? All of them did. And she kind of viewed it as Bosco said she wanted to get a badge and she thinks she deserved like a point from the girls and she'd be pissed if she didn't. And I think she sees that fight in Bosco about how much Bosco wants it. And Olivia's like, well, I do too. Like, don't just count me out. Like, what Olivia is doing here is really showing. It's actually a kind of a good thing that she's showing more vulnerability. It's just not going about it in the right way. I don't want to say it's necessarily a maturity thing, but it does feel like it's a bit of a. It feels like it's a little bit of like a how we manage our emotions thing, and she's not doing a great job with that, right?
Yeah, it comes
She's
off immature.
struggling.
It comes off rather than like I said, it's rather than um her looking at the situation for what it is. Like I said, she's taking all these other things into it, and she's mostly, I think, a lot of these are things that are already going in her head to begin with, and she's taking them out on other people. So it's just like, oh, if she really thought about what Bosco was saying, I guess it was a playful read, but it also wasn't that bad. Like it's just a situation of how people are able to kind of kiki in the moment, like the Irene versus Aja thing from last episode, or if we want to go back to season 17's Kumbaya Girls, I think Olivia might be part of the Kumbaya Club. I just don't know if she could, have that playful banter back and forth. She's never really kind of been one to read, so I don't know. I feel like it could be like a mixture of the emotion, the pressure, and the fact that I don't think she's just like a playful girl in that sense. So
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And I mean, speaking of Olivia too, I mean, to be fair, she does have a lot going on here because we see kind of later on, throughout the episode here, um, strategies really start to deepen and relationships start to form and change and blossom and kind of like as you said, in the first episode here between Aj and Irene that we kind of allude to their fight. In a lot of ways, it was kind of like two dogs barking at each other, right? Like they're kind of just sizing each other up and now they realize that they might actually need each other since they're the only two with points currently over two that were actually like won a challenge and handed points. So they decide to work together. But Aja very clearly lays out her kind of hierarchy of how she values her relationships in her head in the confessional, saying Irene is third, DeJa is second due to the Melon alliance with Olivia, and number one will always be Olivia. But however, the plot starts to thicken a little bit because Aja is again very honest with Olivia in a later conversation, saying she's unsure of where her loyalty may lie, considering they all have to play the game. And Olivia is gagged. And like I said, Aja said she wanted to embrace some villainous activities here, and I think this is where this is going with Aja with her strategy here, where she might make too many promises that she isn't able to keep. What are your thoughts on all this drama here with Olivia, Aja, and the way that she's gaming here?
So, look, Olivia is trying to make sure that she gets a point this week. And maybe that's partially due to the fact that she's not confident in her performance. And maybe the other part is that she feels like she's her number one, so she's definitely going to get a point from her. Now, my issue with this, from my side of things, is that I don't understand why Olivia thinks she's deserved a point from Aja right now when she had the first opportunity to give out a point and did not give it to Aja. Yes, it would have gone against that whole diplomatic bullshit. Yes, it could have maybe like shown that they had an alliance, but come on, girl, read the room. Everyone already knows who has an alliance with who for the most part. Maybe the melanin one is the most like undercover, but clearly Irene and Aja are really good with each other right now. Like they're really good sisters, right? Um, clearly Irene and Bosco start from the get go. Aja and Olivia from the get go. Everyone knows that those two are just like unbreakable pairs, kind of thing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So like I don't think it would have been crazy, especially since she told them I might give it to Aja, and DeJa was feeling away. So if it's all about helping the girls in the Melanin Alliance kind of thing, Aja doesn't owe Olivia technically anything, and she could give it to um DeJa because look, all of a sudden, all of the girls in the Melanin Alliance like can help each other, and Aja currently in first. Is she guaranteeing that Olivia's going to give Aja a thing? Because I mean, I would be kind of skeptical because she did have the chance to prove it, and now it's like you didn't though.
Yeah,
So
I
to me,
see the
I
point.
I don't think Olivia was in the right here, but at the same time, I think this is her showing like she's nervous. She doesn't know if she's going to be able to get there without other girls awarding her these points.
I mean, she's already feeling some type of way from earlier, so I feel like like Olivia is just she's having a day. She's having a very, very, very rough day.
Hard to
um,
get other.
I would say someone else actually is having a rough day in the workroom as well too, because Deja Sky also has a bit of a breakdown. Because she's been really, I feel like, struggling with her self-worth and this overshadowing storyline that she's been kind of going on here, especially after kind of she did well episode one, didn't really get any sort of positive critiques for it, or I would say, well, the greatest positive critiques. Some people got way better critiques than she did, but again, overshadowed. And then, you know, sh she does have that moment, and I think it was really nice to see Phoenix, who was kind of there last week, coach her out of it a little bit. But it is something I do say I do kind of resonate here with Asia, and I think a lot of people do resonate this with Asia, especially when you're trying something new, as far as like doing this YouTube journey, for example. It's hard to get criticism a lot of the time, especially because you know, it's very easy to post a negative comment versus a positive comment. Like, going through the thousands of comments that I get, or I wouldn't say thousands, say hundreds at this point, that we get on like the ranking videos, I'd say at least like 75% of them are people posting something negative instead of something constructive or something positive. So it's like, I could definitely see, you know, how turning on one of these ranking videos and seeing yourself constantly at the bottom of everybody's lists would trigger you some type of way. So, I do understand and resonate with her a lot, but a lot of times too, when you're in, I'd say probably a space here, putting yourself out in an entertainment, you know, uh, setting, that has to be something that you deal with or you know, come to terms with, um, because otherwise it's gonna eat at you constantly, like what's happening with DeJa here. Do you resonate here at all with DeJa's story here?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about hearing people's negative comments, but also with DeJa, I think there's something else that needs to be looked at here. She was very open this episode about things that she has gone through or experienced recently or that she's done herself. You know, she talked with Rue about how she almost died because she had gotten surgery done to like lose fat. And I think that as a bigger girl and as a queen of color, she's gonna have to deal with more hate on average than a lot of other girls do have to, unfortunately. And I think with someone like that, like she doesn't get praised the same way other girls do. For example, just looking at her season, like don't act like Deja Sky was, even though she was told she was a lip sync assassin. It's not like a lot of people in the comments and stuff were like given their everything for Deja. Whereas when Georges was told that she was meant to do drag and like she's a lip sync assassin, the girls were going wild. They were eating, they were living, kind of thing, right? And there it is, where it's like, oh, like pretty much the same exact comments, but very different receptions to it. And I think that's something you see when Deja talks about her hearing those negative voices and her trying to get healthier and how it meant so much to her. And it's like it's the self love and this dealing with that those negative voices that you really have to get over. I guess is RuPaul says a lot, that inner saboteur. And so you can see how this kind of has that effect on her. Even after the challenge, she doesn't think she did well at all. She thinks that she failed completely and that RuPaul is going to be so disappointed in her, right? Like, it's just something that we see in Deja Sky. And I think this is her going to be her storyline for the season, is really overcoming that inner saboteur, or like that, the doubt that she has, especially that's been placed on her since she didn't feel like she was really viewed as someone to be threatened by in season 14, right? She didn't
Hmm.
feel like she had a lot of that going on. So I think it's understandable completely. And I think that as a bigger person myself, like I can really relate to her on that, like that feeling of less self-worth, because it's not like she doesn't see those comments. She definitely sees the comments, and it can be hard to learn to look past what people think of your physical features. It's not something you can just take off of your body. You can't just strip your skin. You can't just decide one day I'm going to wake up and take off 100 pounds of my body weight. You know, like she lost 60 pounds, and like it was a huge deal, and everyone made a big deal about it. And she's like, I'm just worried about like trying to be healthier and blah blah blah. And I think part of it is true, but I also think part of it comes back to that, like she's worried she's being viewed negatively in that light, and this is very much going to be her story here on Drag Race.
I mean, I think in addition to that too, when you're in the kind of limelight and you start to take a step out imposter syndrome really is um, a real thing, and I think it does start to kind of take hold on you a lot. And it's like if you're even if you do find success in a lot of situations, it is kind of hard sometimes to feel like you're kind of even worthy of that success. So I definitely resonate with DeJa here, and I definitely wish her the best. Honestly, trying to work her on her journey here because it's probably the toughest place to confront these things, I think, in a competition setting. Um, and I can only imagine once you are able to kind of get over those kind of hurdles and set yourself free from that, how amazing you'll do in like a future season here. So, um, as we've learned here, even if Data doesn't make it through here, her storyline, even on Drag Race, isn't necessarily over. Um, Looking at Aja, who's coming back for her third time, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna bring you back at some point. I mean, Ginger Minge is here, so um, I think it's all about just being on your journey and taking it for what it is and just making sure you're learning and growing every step of the way. So uh, again, um, I think it's a very powerful message that DeJa is able to speak to about there. So just wanted to make sure we talked about that too. Before,
Yeah.
especially, we get to your other favorite portion of the podcast here, Jack, the runway breakdown. And this week's category, coming and going, I thought was a very intriguing category by the description, which was a look that looks different from the front than it does in the back. Um, I'm not totally sure I got what I wanted from every queen this episode, but I do think there were some really great interpretations. Jack, who were your standouts this week on the runway?
So I want to focus on how I said that last week. Unfortunately, like DeJa was my like lower towards the list girl because of just everyone looking so good, and Bosco was at the top. It's so funny to me because these two have exactly switched places from Deja six to her one now, and Bosco to my sixth place. And I can get into it and explain, but
That
Deja's
shocked
look
me,
was
actually.
so beautiful and so big and magnificent. And I love that she came out here with all this joy. I loved her hair. I love the nude pump too. It really helped to just put all eyes on her fabric and her outfit. She came up here with this amazing pulled up hair and this huge like display of a dress on a almost like on a board of a dress, and it was like so interesting. And when she turned around, here she is as a flower, almost like a lotus kind of effect. It was so beautiful. It was stunning. I thought this was really the most. I love the attention to the details here. Completely different color scheme, completely different everything going on. We have a much more darker navy background in this beautiful yellows and oranges and gold, like on this flower on the back. It was so beautiful, and her attention to detail on her makeup is so good. I want to highlight that the she did so much of this pink and purples in her center of her face and on her lips, and then the blush on her cheeks was just emulating that little bit of orange and subtle yellow that goes so well with this outfit, right? But we don't see it until she turns around. I think this was the number one look. And second, right behind her, this girl is coming for everyone's necks. She is on our throats this whole season. Irene, this girl has one of the most politically amazing, like, here she comes down as a politician, waving the American flags, like, yes, I love it here. It's very Hillary Clinton. It's very Sarah Palin. It's very crazy. There's all these small little details in here though that are very good. I just love to see that little one American flag pin on her and the asymmetrical up the seams kind of thing. These high pants and those damn shoes. She looks kind of like a granny in politics, right? Like you're expecting this, but she busts off the wig and there's a little alien controlling her and her brain has been taken over and you see that she's a robot from the back. And I think this is such a great message in her drag. It's fun, it's campy, and it's very, very drag. It's not something you see always. And I think these two were my real big standouts, and I am so excited to see what other girls have to have. But unfortunately, some of the girls did not come as well prepared. I want to go first with my fifth place mention. Unfortunately, Phoenix has this good concept without as good of an execution in my mind. You know, she tells us about her story with her sister and how it was a really dark day for her, and I love that. I loved her windswept hair. The concept of through the darkness, the sun shines through on the backside. We go from the gray, dark clouds to a blue sky and the sun. I think the concept is great. The execution is a little messy. You know, the details aren't all there. This would work no matter where you are, like at the club at night, because especially in those clubs, like the big details are not going to be seen as much as like when you're on this TV screen, but you could see like it's not ill-fitting per se. It's just it's not as pleasant on her body with the silver corset and the bodysuit, and silver accents aren't as nicely taken in here. Whereas when she turns around, the gold sun and everything is just, we can see the edges, and some of it looks a little cheap and it's not symmetrical here or there. And just some of these things that are like details, 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 because they will be seen here and it matters. Although I like her concept, it doesn't go great in terms of like the main stage. I don't think it presented as well. And for Bosco specifically, I don't think she had two looks. I think this is a big thing that happens a lot of the time. This girl came down the runway in a goddamn coffin, but just like was kicking it forward or whatever, or pushing it forward, turned around to become Elvira. Yes, Elvira coming out of a coffin, iconic and doing it, and yes, loved it. But you coming out of a coffin does not make it two looks. You were never a coffin. That is not a look. This is not the challenge. I think this is just something she's wanted to do, and she found a way to make it happen here. Is it iconic? Does everyone look past it? Yes, I won't. But you know,
I mean, I'm
I'm
looking
just
past it.
saying.
I'm looking past it. Just because, like,
Of course,
if Alaska could come out in a trash bag covering her look, or Alyssa's gonna
that
cover
doesn't
out
mean
with
I'm gonna say it's good.
whatever the hell that thing
Camera
was that
dress,
she had with the camera dress on it. Yeah, the bag holding the camera dress and the camera dress.
girl, is
Like
just
the
because it
bag
was bad
holding the
doesn't mean it's
camera dress
good.
was not a dress. So I'm just like,
Okay, and I agree with you. It
there should
wasn't a
be.
really good concept. I mean, technically, it was a second look, I guess, but it wasn't good. It was bad. Like I
Well, what
agree
I'm
with you, but
saying is we've seen so
I
many
won't
times
let
where
these
it's
bad
like,
things go through.
or there's other times where it's like they'll just take off their jacket. This is the
Yeah, it's
equivalent.
not a
This is
second
okay.
look.
This is the
It,
equivalent of them just taking off her jacket because she was wearing the coffin. She took the coffin off.
I agree with you. It is the exact same thing. That's why I'm not giving it a pass. It's great that she
That's
had a
why I am
coffin.
giving it a pass
But
because I'm
imagine
fine with the
if
concept.
instead of the coffin, or actually bring the coffin out, but when she turned around, the coffin was like painted on her back. Come on, that's all she needed to do, and we would have all ate it up, and we would have accepted that it was a coffin look on the back too. No, I'm not giving a pass for someone who doesn't do the damn runway. Like, sorry, not
Well, I
sorry.
mean, I don't know how many of the other people really did this runway here too. If that was really a different look from the front and the back. Like most of the people, I feel like had a look in the front and they just wore a backpack of something. Of like Phoenix's, where she's like had the gold armor, or Olivia who just put like roses on the back, or
I mean, if she
like
had
I think
turned
Aja
around
was
in
really
it,
the only
though, it would
one
be totally
that
different.
really followed the assignment 100%. But there was something about Aja's look that I didn't resonate 100% in the fashion aspect of it. It so it was a little bit kind of eh. So I feel
Here's
like I
how I
guess
like. This is how I looked at it. If I were to take their head and completely 180 it, could it be a fashion or an outfit worn on the runway? Technically, yes. A lot of people's could have. Olivia's flowers could have been a flower dress. Sure, fine, it works. Irene's cyborg politician, yes, would have been an outfit itself. Bosco would have just been backwards in an Elvira outfit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even Phoenix's not so great, like, sun thing technically could have been an outfit. It's just, it's not great. I'm not gonna lie to you, but at least there was a try to make an outfit on the back. I'll give that. And you're right, Aja might have had one of the more successful ones, but
I don't think
it
I got what I
wasn't the
wanted from
best one.
every single
I
person.
don't. I agree.
I don't think anybody
This is a step
embodied
down from the first week.
100% of what I wanted from the concept, and I think that's my problem is that there's for a category I was just really excited to see. I'm nitpicking everything here at some point, I'm just kind of like ah. So I'm not upset, but I'm a little disappointed. I won't lie.
I am a little disappointed. I feel you. I also was like, after the first one wasn't as good, I was like, oh, it wasn't as good as the first one. This is weird.
Well, you know which was good though was this murder on the dance floor challenge. I thought it was very cute. Um, we could talk about that here. As let's see here the plot. Uh, there's a bride to be, Ashley Brashley. She's the owner of a world famous gumbo company, and she's killed at her bachelorette party. And the queens play one of six characters and are interviewed by RuPaul, the detective. We have Aja playing the role as Ashley Brashley and Mary Kate, the victim and the victim's twin sister. We have DeJa Sky as Chardonnay Harrington, the flirtatious cougar. Bleh. Bosco, Kitty Laveau, the kooky cabaret performer. Irene, the alien, as Cherry Cheeks, the party crasher, aka the jealous ex-wife. We have Olivia Lux as Madame Bouffant, the fortune teller, aka the victim's mother. And we have Phoenix playing Delphine Burgundy, the victim's best friend and the maid of honor. Jack, overall, did you enjoy this challenge, and who were your standouts? Because I feel like we kind of know who the standouts are.
I mean, I enjoyed this challenge. I think I mostly agree with the standouts. I think Deja and Irene did amazing. I think Bosco did really good. I think Aja, though she missed a couple things, it was a much greater what's the word? It was a
There's
much greater
improvement.
and yeah, she was better at doing this than she had been in the past. She's very much improved on this. And it wasn't perfect, but girl, it wasn't like worst of the worst. So that's what mattered.
Hmm. It felt like for me, especially with people like Aja or Phoenix and Olivia, Um, like I said,
Mm.
everybody did well, but I feel like those three
Mm.
in particular struggled on really trying to incorporate the story into the improv. It felt like, especially like Phoenix, had to kind of be pushed along a lot by Rue to get a lot of her lines out, at least the lines that she needed to get out in order for like the story to work, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Olivia, it felt like there was a time where I feel like I saw her like reading notes from her lap or something. Like she was just, it looked like she was literally
You?
looking down at like at her lap, reading like a cheat sheet of notes. It was weird. It was a little weird.
Olivia had no clue what was going on in that scene. I thought she did the worst by far. I think she had a character that we've seen played poorly multiple times by a handful of Rue girls personally, but I
Yeah, and
mean,
they've been terrible at it every single time. Um,
yeah, it almost never goes well. It's crazy.
like I did laugh at the Wi-Fi password for the crystal ball joke. I thought that was cute. I thought that was funny.
I thought that was desperate, but it could. I
A
think it
little
was just
bit,
the delivery that was
but
bad,
yeah,
personally.
yeah, I would agree, and I do think as well too. For me, Deja was a little hesitant in the beginning, just because you could tell she was, I think, a little worried about having to flirt with Rue and come on to Rue and whatnot.
Yeah,
But once she started to get comfortable in the middle, she did really well. But um, and I would say the opposite for Aja, where she did well in the beginning, but then when she had to kind of like force in the plot storylines, it was a little rough. Um, Whereas for me, Bosco and Irene, start to finish, both had characters that were clear, concise, confident, and just so good. Irene, too, evoked so much of the Gretel from All Star 7 from Vivian, may she rest in power, with just the fact that she had the one tone in her voice and then switching completely to a completely different character with a completely different accent after that. Um,
I mean,
so good. So good.
Irene was the standout of this episode for me. She was I mean, and yes, part of it is we've never seen her in this challenge before, but even more than that, it was such a well-defined character. She told us earlier in the episode she had had a BFA, and I was kind of laughing a little bit because I was like, okay, how many girls have had a BFA? And we've been like, and
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
I was waiting there. I was like, and
Where is this going? Do you have a master's?
right,
Who's
like,
next?
well, no, I was more like, is it gonna matter?
No, you
Is
could
it
tell it
going to
mattered
matter?
here. You could tell it mattered. This was by far, I think, one of the best like improv acting, just like character performances I think we've ever seen on the show. Like this was really good. Like this was I could literally see Irene on a TV show. I could. I think she has that level of possibility of her skill uh, with her acting. Like I thought she did amazing. Um, I think though for me, Bosco had the funniest performance, without a doubt, by far. There was like 3 or 4 times I honestly had to go back and rewatch it because I was laughing so hard at all the stupid stuff that she was doing. From her having no makeup underneath her eye patch to her terrible cabaret singing to her using that stupid opening line I said with the most recent opportunity that she's had is this one. Then
Yeah,
the crown of it all with her with the cops and robbers shooting out her eye, and then the other eye with under eye patch was glaucoma and she's blind. So, like she literally took Rue out of it. Like Rue started laughing. That's how fucking funny that was. Um, Oh, I feel like Bosco literally just while Irene had probably like the best like professional performance, Bosco for me just had the funniest performance of the night. It wasn't necessarily technically acting correct 100%, but it was hilarious, and I thought she did so good.
yeah. I think there were definitely some challenges with the acting correct part, but she had a great performance. Not like it's just not. It's not question. You can't say anything about it, right?
I mean, you really
Like,
can't. Um, One other thing I can't really say anything about was Untucked this episode. My notes literally are Deja Sky's wig fits on a crystal ball, and
yeah,
Olivia
yeah,
cannot
yeah.
make a video to save her life. That's all I have
I
to
will
say.
say, I will say one thing about Olivia. I was like, you should be crying. I was like, yeah, your performance was bad, and you need to stop worrying about everything else. You need to start worrying about those things that are actually important, like your
Olivia's
bad
having a bad
performances.
day, okay? She's having a bad day, okay? She was really trying to come out of archetype again, and she ended up just doing the same exact flopping
Yeah,
failure, whatever.
yeah,
Um, it was weird though
it's
too, because like she's good. She did really well in well, she was definitely a top performance in like the Bossy Rossi one on season 13. Not to say season 13 was like a great improv cast, but like she clearly is good at things. So I'm just like it was just rough to see her kind of not I think live up to I think the expectation for someone that's won 2 challenges, finished 5th place. That has got to be rough, honestly, if you really think about it.
okay. I think one of the problems is that she tried to focus so much on physical comedy with her character. She had nothing to really give because she knew who her character was from the get. Like we all kind of knew who her character was. I don't. I mean, we didn't all know, but I kind of thought. As soon as she said that one like little slip up, we knew exactly who she was because we'd seen the other performances and stuff, right? Like, so we knew when she said circa. We knew that she was going to end up being the mother of Ashley Brashley and Mary Kate, and it just unfortunately became a she didn't do much to heighten the character outside of just the what it said on the paper. I think
Yeah, it didn't really go anywhere.
it didn't go
Um,
anywhere, and I was like, well, um, that's fine. Like if it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't go anywhere. But don't be like I guess you just have to kind of accept it at the end of the day. And it's hard to do that. I get it. It's a pressure cooker. But um, unfortunately it is what it is.
It really is what it is at the end of the day here. And I mean, the writing was kind of on the wall, as you said earlier here, when they call out Bosco, DeJa, and Irene as the top three, with Bosco and Irene ultimately winning the challenge, which I personally definitely agree with. And was kind of actually looking forward to this lip sync here, because it was a kind of a nice way to close the episode here. With the lip sync song being "Murder on the Dance Floor" by Sophie Ellis Bextor, which is basically the title of the acting challenge. So good on them for finally like planning a lip sync song that matches their challenge. Way to go. Um, Jack, what do you think of this lip sync?
I think we were rigged and robbed and hate.
Are you hating on Bosco here?
I'm not hating on Bosco. I'm telling it how it is. Bosco did not win this lip sync, and the girls can tell me whatever they want to say. It, it's like 4 hours of her doing this thing with the cloth, and I thought it was cool at first, but then just like it was like 40 seconds later, and she's still doing it. She hasn't done the reveal that we all know is coming, and it was like okay. Whereas I feel like Irene the whole time was really giving us the song the whole time. I was like, oh, like Irene is giving me the emotion. I feel everything from this song. Like Irene is really murder on the dance floor right now. And then they were like, no.
I mean, I actually agree with the judges. I really like this performance from
I knew you
Bosco.
would. A girl
I
who wants a stunt only wants a
do.
stunt.
I do love a stunt, especially
It's
I'm
not
like
all about that though. It's about actually doing the
one
song.
of
And
my
Irene did
favorite
the song.
performances is Coco versus
And
Alyssa,
I
and the
agree with
way that
you, but Coco didn't
Coco
do it the
moved
whole
the
damn
fabric
time.
was amazing, and I am a
And she
sucker
did not
for
make it the whole
someone
performance
who,
though.
well, if you let me finish, I'm a sucker for a person who will just do it a little bit. I don't care. So I thought she beat Irene as far as concerned. Irene, I think the
No.
negative part for me, and this is kind of going back to like the premiere of season 17, right? When we're talking about like why Susie 2 beat Jewel Sparkles in that lip sync. Even though we kind of probably think that Susie, or I don't think we agreed that Susie won the lip sync. The fact that Jules kind of had a performance that was similar to what she kind of did before was kind of, I think, the reason why Susie ended up winning. Whereas in this situation, Irene didn't do too much outside of the lip sync that she kind of did last episode. So I kind of see why they ultimately chose Bosco because she did something a little different. So
I felt like that steak is back.
that's just my opinion. Just my opinion. But whatever. We're ending the double premiere here with our new point totals as follows. Bosco and Irene are officially tied with 4 points. Aja has 3, and Deja Sky, Olivia Lux, and Phoenix are at the bottom with 1. But what will happen with all the strategizing from the bottom 4? And with Aja now being one of them, will she be able to keep up with our new frontrunner duo of Bosco and Irene? Or can one of Deja, Olivia, and Phoenix use next week's Lady Baller makeover to snatch a spot in the finals? I gotta say, I'm a little worried about next week because it's clearly going to be a partner makeover. And
Oh yeah.
I just, we know how they like to do makeover challenges. Anything could happen here. Um, did you have anything you want to say here before we spill some real tea?
I mean, other than like obviously I disagree with the lip sync thing. I still think that we got the correct top 3 at the very least, right? And I think that that's what's important is we're doing the real judging here. Both girls get 2 points. So that one extra point may or may not matter. Either way, they're both going to be sitting there now at 4 points, which is great because I think I think we're just gonna, regardless of what happens, I think we're gonna get the correct top 3 moving on from this group without any. I don't think anyone's gonna have a way to like really just what's the word? Just not discriminate. You know what I'm trying to say. There's no reason that someone can fight this top
Unless the
three.
last challenge is worth 8 points or nine
Right, that's what I
points,
was thinking. I was like, is there going to be a gag? Like, are the last four girls going to have
multiplier.
the chance to give away more points? I don't know, but I just think that it's what's most important is that we get the correct three going on to the nine, and that's what's important to me. And I agree with you. This a makeover. That's the only bad thing is I'm like, oh, not this for like a quote unquote design challenge or whatever or creativity challenge. I don't like this at all, but I don't see a way in which we don't get the same top three. So at least there is that going well for us.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that. And, you know, I think you're right. I really don't see really a way that the top three won't be Aja, Irene, or Bosco. Like Bosco's clearly, well, I was gonna say Bosco was locked in, but she has the amount of points as Irene. So those two are probably honestly both locked in. Because at this point, someone at the bottom has to get 3 points to match up to them. Um,
I'm more
well,
concerned on what
well,
these
then they
girls
can
are
get
going
a
to do with
point
these
and then
four
win the challenge, and
points.
I guess they could be up there. I don't know actually. I mean, it's still there's still a little bit of yeah, some mystery there, but um, who knows? But I can't wait to see how this turns out, and I'm sure we'll be back next week to bitch about it. But um, until then, let's talk some drag race tea here that's been spilled here across the internet. Something we're gonna talk about our first video, but something I wanted to bring up here because it kind of ties into some speculation I kind of wanted to talk about here, as well here on the real tea. So, first thing I want to jump into here is this week, Nicole Paige Brooks. I think she broke her MDA a little bit here. Who knows? But we love a messy queen here. But she revealed some things that happened behind the scenes of the Pink Team bracket. Because apparently it was proposed that season 14's Maddy Morphosis was actually at the filming location, but for some reason did not end up staying for the final filming process. As there are conflicting sources here saying that maybe Maddie left on her own accord, but I'm hearing now that it's possible that production replaced her at the last minute, which is craziness because, as we know here, that ended up causing their group to be delayed filming. I think they had 5 days in between while they contacted some other people. They tried to contact Mirage at first, but apparently she said no. And this ultimately led to the casting of Lydia E. Collins from season 17. Mostly probably because season 17 had just filming, and from my understanding and my knowledge of kind of the casting process, they still have to go through like background checks and testing and things like that to bring on a new girl into the show. So, what better way to circumvent all of that than just kind of bring someone that you already have vetted this information from the current season? So, that's why we're seeing Lydia here on the season. But let's kind of circle back to the beginning of all this with Maddie and Jack. What do you think all of this means for Maddy Morphosis and her future on the season, given that she's no longer on the season and possibly not even her choice?
I think it could be a good thing for Maddie, actually. I want to go through the optimism of they want Maddie to go further in the season than what they maybe were kind of planning on her to go this season. I think when you look at the group she's in, it's already got some really strong contenders, and I think the fact that they already had two season 14 girls, having a third season 14 girl kind of goes against that pattern that they had, right? That we discussed in an earlier video about how there's going to be two season 14 girls in each group, and one of them's going to go through, and one of them's probably not. Um, so to have three, right? Like that kind of makes things a little bit more difficult when it comes to the pattern, and it also makes things a little bit more difficult when it comes to really producing and casting this season. I think one of the big things that really is going to come through here is Maddy Morphosis going to be someone that they want to see back on a season, but maybe they want to get her back with someone that she had more drama with, like Jasmine Kennedy, perhaps. Maybe Maddie doesn't have as many close connections with some of the girls. I mean, Maddie had a good connection with Diabetti, but Diabetti was also in a different group, so maybe that means that they wanted them to eventually meet up together again, right? And if that's if that's where you go from here with that, I'm not mad about the idea that Maddy gets saved for another season, especially after maybe they iron out some of the issues with the tournament kind of thing going on. It could also mean though that means Maddy or Lydia in this case, who took her spot, might not have the best chance at getting through.
Which we kind of expected, though. I mean, they don't usually bring back queens right away and expect them to do well. I don't think they've ever really brought back a queen immediately and them do super well, other than maybe Katya. But even then, I would say she kind of still struggled like a little bit in comparison to like Detox and Alaska kind of thing. Um, but to kind of uh, make a point on something else you said here too. She's clearly in the YouTube like industry, right? She's clearly a big name. Like I clearly can see them trying to like form or make something between her and Mistress. But also now that I'm thinking about it too, like could this also be a benefit to her in another season where she's basically now the mistress of the cast, being that YouTube girly, like the only
Yeah,
YouTube girly, you know? Like they clearly put I wouldn't say they pushed Trixie and Katya because of that, but they definitely, that definitely helped them. That did not hurt them. So, you know, maybe Maddie is going to be that girl on All Stars 11, but they kind of wanted to delay it a little bit. But what also has me wondering here a little bit, especially with the filming schedule and things like that, and again, kind of going back to editing and production and the thought process behind like creating a season and the ultimate viewing experience of said season, right? Um, Given in this situation, each queen is on set for what, like 5 days or so. This does beg the question too: did they send the pink group home while they waited for Lydia to come? Were they there for an extra 10 days? Did they bring them back? Who knows? Um, but for whatever reason, right, they decided to have the pink group, which clearly was there probably first to film, now be pushed back 5 days so Lydia has time to become the second group. Now, orange was the second group. They are now the first group. This goes to show that either way, they didn't really have any plans to move the purple group to be anything other than that third and final group that we are meant to see. Now, the reason I'm bringing all of this up, right, is because, again, narratively, and expectations that we're expecting to see from a show, the whole idea of a lot of times when they're making these shows here is they want the most exciting thing to be kind of one of the first things that we get taste of, so it gets us, hooked on the season, especially the casual viewers. Those are the ones that they're really trying to reach out for, so they want to get them invested immediately. And going back to one of the most controversial seasons of Survivor, Survivor season 38 on Edge of Extinction. And spoiler alert of those who haven't seen it, because it's unlike any other season of the show. So here's your spoiler warning: three, two, one. Um, well, the winner is voted out. Episode 3 disappears and does not come back to the game until the season finale. And the reason why this season gets so much backlash is because narratively, he had one of the worst edits ever because he was literally not non-existent for the entirety of the season and shows up on the season finale and wins, right? Well, I'm bringing this up because again, when it comes to, I would say, patterns and how they are going to produce things, again, they're going to want to catch our interest from the start. Terrible editing here would be to have whoever their winner contender is show up in the very last half of the season and take the crown, right? They're going to want us to have people that we are invested in and that we want to see root for. So when they get to the merge, after we get through everything, those are the people that I would consider probably the biggest, I would say, heroes in this instance, because those are the people that we've been rooting for the longest. So I have this theory that the winner will absolutely be from orange or pink, just based on the fact that these are the two groups that they have decided to push out to the front. And I'm a little bit more in tune to think that the pink group, since they were the initial group that they wanted to catch everybody's attention, is going to probably have that winner. And I might be slightly biased because I love Mistress, and maybe that's kind of what I want here. But I could also now see Bosco, or maybe even Irene, kind of taking that spot here if the reception to Mistress, for whatever reason, goes, sour here. But what I really want to say here is that I think the purple team is fucked. I just I don't see any reason why they would have this group come in again at the second half, and after we've spent what, a month and a half rooting for 12 different people, that they're going to want anybody in this other group to be anything more than a roadblock in the way of one of the other person succeeding. Jack, do you think there's any sort of merit to my discussion here?
I think there is a merit here. You start off big. I think one of the great things about showing us the orange group first is that we have the unsuspecting uh, Irene, who we don't know what she can do, and she's doing extremely well. So it like kind of captures our attention. We're like, oh, we want to see more now, right? That's one of the things we can look at. But I think that there's also this idea that the pink group and the orange group going first and second, yes, we get to see them and think about them and marinate for a little bit. But I think with the purple group going last, you could also make the case that, they'll be the freshest in their minds. Maybe we'll want to see them do well. So I guess it just kind of depends.
Yeah, I do have that argument, but again, I'm thinking of it as like a season long perspective, and I don't feel like how the viewing experience, how the average casual viewer will feel about someone being introduced to them in the second to last act, and that person end up being the winner. It'd be like we're having a murder mystery, right? We're already halfway through, and now we're being
I
introduced to a crowd of
mean,
characters, and one of them is now the murderer. You know, it's a little kind of like, oh, well,
I feel
ew.
like with this season, because it's so new, I'm not sure if they've thought all that all the way through, per se. And I mean, it's fair to say that they may have, and it's fair to say they might not have at all. Like, unfortunately, um, you have to think about what the editors were thinking at the time, I guess more so what the producers were thinking. The editors are telling the story of what happened. The producers are kind of guiding the story before the editors get their hands on it. And when I'm thinking about what the producers want, I don't know if they thought that far ahead that they were like, the groups are going to guarantee that we only have someone from one of these two groups winning. It could just end up being that that is maybe one of the goals, but it could be like an Anya Nerve situation where you can't deny that she did extremely well, and I don't think anyone expected her to win this season from the first initial casting. Like people can say, "Oh yeah, Anya Nerve was like my top four, and I wanted her to win," whatever, blah blah blah. Sure, but she was not one of the big names that everyone had heard of, that everyone knew. She wasn't the Sasha Colby of the season, right?
I'm not saying that the purple team or the purple group doesn't have a chance to win. We could very well go with a situation where they just wanted to see the last person in all last 6 episodes and see how that goes. I just have this feeling again that just based off of how they want us to get invested with things, that they're going to want us to get invested with the first two
Hmm.
groups more so than the third. That's why they're being shown to us so early on in the competition, and those are the ones that the casual people might tune out of if they're not necessarily watching from the start. Like they might get to like episode 3 and stop. Episode 4, okay, well, who are the queens that they've seen at that time, you know
Yeah.
so I don't know. Like and I kind of still have my theories and my feelings just based on the fact that I think from our discussion here, we definitely see a lot of people in pink as front runners as well as people in orange. I still am gonna hold my horses and wait till we see purple actually go. I feel like there's just a lot more people I see reasons for them not winning based off of a production decision than on them actually not performing well kind of thing. So I don't know. We'll kind of see. It's kind of was something I kind of wanted to discuss and kind of fun, and hopefully if y'all enjoyed that, made it to the end of the discussion and y'all agree, make sure you like, comment below, so we have the session even more. We'll be back next week for episode 3. Hopefully, we won't be having another crazy episode 3 where everything kind of just goes down the tubes, like it kind of did last season. And I hope, I pray, I believe that the Tournament of All Stars may be that format that we might need for a little bit of time here. So, that being said, y'all, again, thank you for listening. And on behalf of my co-caster, QuackrrJack, this is Renegayde signing out. But remember, keep spilling that tea, y'all. Bye!
Bye!